this is like big bro, y'all. So brothers and sisters, we go back and forth, and he got to tell me stuff a million times, and it is what it is. But I'm definitely, again, like I said earlier, this is something that I absolutely love, and sometimes that holding period is just me, like you said, looking a way to make it my own or put a spin on it, or making sure that I completely understand before I put something into till I give something before I give something a green light. In a sense, I gotta make sure it makes sense to me.
I was always told in life, when you find a good friend, you do your best to hold on to them. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name Brian H. Waters. It's another episode 5 of Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. This will round out the first 5 episodes. All featured my friends. Well, me myself first, but then my other 4 friends who we call ourselves the Fab Five. You heard from Kelsey. You heard from Brandon. You heard from Renee. Now, you hear from the 5th member, my friend Ashley Baker. Ashley and I met when I was working with Fox Sports 1340, right at the infancy of what we were doing there, putting together a social media team. So she has joined the podcast to discuss her journey, how she found Fox Sports 1340, what she's been doing afterwards, and how she's able to do all this while being a single mom. I encourage you to sit back and listen as she discusses that even as a single mom, even getting started later than the average person, she's still been able to break through the glass ceiling. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Baker.
All right, folks, as promised, I got the one, the only, the host of About Nothing But Sports, Ashley Baker, on the line. Ashley, what's good?
Hey Brian, what's going on?
Oh, man, nothing much. Well, first and foremost, thank you for your time. I'm excited. When are we officially in 2020?
Yes.
And 4 years ago, to the date of last week, I should say, was when we first met. Um,
Yes.
when you joined the crew known at the time as the Fox Sports 1340 crew. This is before the station would go to the FM, which would also now has a signal of Fox Sports 96.9. But how you feeling? What we're gonna get right into this interview. Now I know, but I want the people to know because you have a different journey than a lot of us. When did you decide that you wanted to get into sports?
Oh man, I really feel like um I just should have done it much earlier. I've always loved sports. I've always loved talking, always loved debating sports. Those that grew up around me, they when I finally decided to take this leap into this field, everybody was just asking, why did you wait? You should have always been doing this. But I really don't think that I decided or really put it all together like, oh my gosh, this is what I should be doing. Probably until around maybe 2013, 2014. And that's when I decided, that I was going to start taking the steps to, go ahead and get this sports journalism career popping. But life happens. It is what it is. I kind of wish that I had knew a long time ago because I literally like eat, breathe, and sleep sports. You know me, so it's literally what I do. So I say around 2013, 2014 is when I decided that this is what I wanted to do.
What happened to make you say now is the time?
Honestly, it was just this. I couldn't kick the passion. Like I couldn't really deny it anymore. And I just have, like you said earlier, my journey is a bit different from others, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into that a little later. But when I knew like that was literally like one of my strongest points is talking and analyzing and debating sports. Um, I wanted to say debating and like sports at the same time.
I know, right?
Debating sports when I realized it was just so natural to me. Um, and that's when I realized, okay, I needed to start working on turning my passion into not a profit. Yeah, like 50% of that, but also, when I was in school, I had this teacher who asked me what was if you could do something for 10 years and not get paid for it, what would that something be? And at the time in school, I was huge on astronomy. I love astronomy. I love learning about the planets and space and all of that stuff. And so my answer back then was astronomy. This was like 11th grade. And then I asked myself that question as an adult. And I thought to myself, I could just talk sports all day, every day, um, and be okay, in a sense, not getting paid for it. Just that's just the passion. You know what I'm saying? So when I came to that realization, like, yo, this is literally what I do. It is literally like in my DNA. That's when I decided I needed to move forward and, start to make this thing into a career.
So, um, I'm gonna leave it open for you to break the fourth wall down. And in the wrestling world, that means, tell the real secret. I'm gonna say for you, and you can say what it is, but I'm gonna say life happens,
Yeah.
and you in a situation where obviously you got to take care of yourself. What made you decide that now is the time to go back? I understand you couldn't kick the passion, but what made you actually decide that you wasn't going to let nothing stop you and actually pursue it rather than just be somebody who just was a big talker on the internet hoping for an opportunity?
I think a big part of it definitely was I wanted to do something, do this to prove something to myself, make
Hmm.
myself proud of myself, and also to make my kids proud of me. I'm a mom of two kids. My oldest is 11. My son is 8. So for all those single moms out there, because I am a single mom, um, you know, a lot of the hang up was because, I have to not only deal with myself, but, deal with two kids and, do school and work full time. And, I wanted to, I know when it all boils down to it that I want to leave my children with something that they are proud of in regards to me once I leave this earth. And I ultimately want to be happy. I want to do something that I enjoy doing. I don't want work to be work for me. I want it to be something that I enjoy. And I'm just, I really decided that I wanted that for my life. And that's what really made me say, okay, I want my kids to be able to have something of me. I want me to be able to have something. I want to prove something to myself, prove something to my kids. And that's what really made me say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and, step out on faith. And regardless of everything I have going on and my circumstances, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I started,
Yeah.
started my journey.
We started your journey. Let's get right into it. 2000, the year's 2015. It's December 27th. Yeah, I still remember the date. Uh, the date is 2000, December 27th.
Yeah.
Um, you inbox Fox Sports 1340
Yeah.
on Twitter or Instagram, I believe, after you see an ad that says, "Hey, we're looking to grow." And I say that because I'm the one who created it.
Right.
Um, First of all, what made you jump and take that leap of faith right there?
Well, so I definitely want to give a shout out to Michael Lau. Michael Lau is my mentor. And, I had been talking to Mike a couple of weeks prior. We actually met via Facebook, and he recognized the passion just over my social media that I
Hmm.
had for sports and talking about sports, especially on social media. And he actually brought the posting up to me first. And he's like, I really think that you should send in your resume. This is literally what you do. They're asking for a social media specialist, and this is literally what you do all day anyway. So go ahead and send your resume in. And I'm, like, are you sure I should, Mike? And he was like, I can be kind of hard headed. I think you know that a little bit about me, Brian. But
Yes, indeed.
I can be kind of hard headed. But Mike was he just kept it 100 and was like, Ashley, send the damn resume, like straight up, just like that. And I was like, okay, he told me to send the damn resume, so I'm gonna send the damn resume. And so, I sent it, and you hit me like immediately. And yeah, I mean, the rest after that. That's literally what. Yeah, like after that, it was literally history. After that, but I, at the time, all I had was Mike, and again, shout out to him because, he essentially saw something in me that I didn't at the time see in myself. I knew that this is something I wanted to do, but for him to just say, "Go ahead and do it, just do it," I'm telling you, just do it. That was like one of the best decisions that I have ever made.
Yeah, shout out to Michael. He mentors y'all on coming up in the business. He mentors me on how to be a mentor. So
Yeah.
as they say, your mentor's favorite mentor. Which we'll be having him on the show, folks. Don't worry, because he has a plethora of stories to tell. So you come on Fox Sports, you come aboard, you do your social media thing, and you kill it, without a doubt. Take us to the moment you went into and went to the Wizards game your first time as a reporter and as a social media analyst, because now the game has changed. You've been a basketball fan all your life, whether it's been the Wizards or the Warriors or whoever. We all know Dwayne Wade. Anybody who knows you, first and foremost. I don't even know if you like basketball before Wade was playing, because I never heard you talk. Not say you didn't like the game, but I never heard you talk
Yeah.
about a player prior to him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, real quick, Dwayne Wade not listed on the All-Decade team. How'd that make you feel?
Oh man, I was kind of I mean, honestly, it was 50-50. Um, I don't know. I haven't really processed that yet, Brian, actually.
Because
I mean, I don't know.
first,
I think, I don't know.
because
I think
personally, I
it's,
put him over James Harden for the championships alone.
but I'm just like, I wonder how it's being measured in a
Hmm.
sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're just going by championships, are we going by the impact that the person has had on the game in the last decade? Are we going, like, how are we measuring that there? You know what I mean? Because if we're going to go, I don't know. I probably wouldn't put Harden there, but I'm not necessarily saying that I would put, D Wade there either. I
Okay.
know it sounds really strange coming from me. I don't know.
Yeah. So take us to that moment where now the game has changed for you,
Yeah.
and now you're covering games.
So once I got off the phone with you, that day, um, our director at the time, Glenn Thomas,
Shout out
Glenn,
to Glenn.
shout out to Glenn, shout out to Glenn. Glenn calls me immediately. We have a phone conversation. He's like, "Yeah, I definitely, want you on the team." And I think like 2 days later, or either the next day, Glenn texts me and like, "Hey, can you cover, the Wizards and the Pistons?" And I'm like, uh, sure. And he's like, I know you've never, covered, you haven't done this part. So, he was just really cool about it. He was like, I just go and just check out the game. Just, pay attention to what's going on around you. Just observe your surroundings and, just go and have a great time. That's initially what he said, And so I said, okay, I'm gonna do that. But of course, I kind of got really nervous on the way to the arena. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is like happening. This is really a big deal. And I did exactly what Glenn told me to do. I enjoyed the game, but I did a lot of observing. And I paid attention to questions that were asked to the players and locker room etiquette and what was such a good thing for me, I felt like, which really kind of solidified in my mind, like almost just made me feel like, okay, yeah, girl, this is you. Is a lot of the things that I learned, locker room etiquette, player etiquette, the things you should not ask. I kind of already knew. It was kind of just natural. Like I said earlier, it's just like media 101, like stuff that I already knew without even really being taught it, if it makes sense. So it definitely opened my eyes, and wasn't starstruck or anything. It was business, business. Went in there and did the interviews in the locker room, and really, really decided at that point and knew, like, yo, this is for me. This is where I belong. I belong in locker rooms asking questions. This is it. This is it. I knew it, and I'm super grateful for Glenn for that opportunity.
Yeah, so now, we get into the season. At that time, we were closing out we was getting ready for the 50th Super Bowl, and then we was also, was this 2016, we were looking at the record-setting year for the Warriors,
Yep.
also the record-setting year for the Cavaliers, because they would finally bring a championship. Talk about being in the business now, because you've been a fan for so many great moments, the Heat, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James finally getting his championship. You've been a football fan, not the Dallas Cowboys winning the championship, of course. Since you was
Wow.
in the
Wow, that's crazy. That was such a jab, yo. Such a jab.
but you
This is
see
supposed to
some
be an
things.
uplifting interview.
It is. But you see stuff like, Ray Lewis retiring
Yeah.
at the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. But now you're in the business.
Yeah.
You're working in sports. You have Peyton Manning going out with a Super Bowl. Like I said, we got Steph Curry hitting 400 plus 3-pointers. Talk
Yeah.
about it now, and talk about how you're watching sports now from a business standpoint and thinking about what you got to do to relay information on social media to serve sports fans everywhere.
Well, like you said, it was, it's definitely a different viewpoint. Um, it was, I've always had this, I feel like, unique sense of like timing, making sure that information is accurate and put out quickly, um, on these social media platforms, and um, not things that are so, this our generation, I guess we're millennials. Are we considered millennials?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are considered millennials. I think we judge millennials and we're like, yo, we're millennials. We need to chill. Um, we tend to want everything quick, fast, and in a hurry, and but we still want to make sure that information is accurate and things like that. So I think I've even as just a fan, Brian, I've always felt the need to get out the correct information, and I've always had this thing about me where I felt like I wanted to be the first person to tell you about it. So that
Hmm.
didn't really change, because I was like that before I, got in the business, on social media, which is why Mike recommended the job to me. So it didn't really change that much. Um, I have come to find now, though, even back then, it wasn't the way it is now. Like, social media is a big deal. Like, it's huge. And now it's about kind of the same thing, making sure that you get the information out, making sure that it's accurate, making sure that it's timely, and um, now people just love to talk. So um, I realized that I'm a great conversation starter on like social media, and people like to conversate. Like, people love to like talk about these sports topics and give their opinions and stuff like that on social media. It's crazy. Did I answer the question? I feel like,
You,
yeah. I don't really feel like I don't know. I don't really feel like it's much of a difference from when I was a fan to like now, because I've
hmm
always still wanted to make sure that what I'm saying out my mouth is, accurate and true. And I wanted to put it out there in a sense where people would and talk, because I just love to talk sports. I love to hear people's point of views. It's kind of the same thing, if I answered the
Gotcha.
question right.
No, you did. You
Yeah.
did. So, I got to ask everybody this question on this show.
Hmm.
The title of the show is called Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. What was the moment
Yes.
to your career thus far where you broke through the glass ceiling? Or I should say, you feel like you broke through the glass ceiling.
I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I do feel like it's a couple of moments. But I think one of them, which is something that I definitely wanted to do, is honestly that year that you're talking about, the year where the Warriors, went 73-9, and you and I and Kelsey covered the Warriors and the Wizards game
Mm-hmm.
here in DC, and this is a story that you and I and Kelsey just we love to like rehash this story, everybody, but I think that night, I think Steph put up like 50 points that night.
He put up 50
Um,
points because
he put up 50
everybody,
points
we,
that
we
night.
ignored Wall's 40 because Steph was so good that night.
Yeah, yeah. So, we were in the locker room, and there was just this funny moment where, we were in the Warriors locker room. It's this funny moment, where Steph and everybody were coming from out of the showers, and I guess Steph had like this Axe spray, and we were at Draymond's locker, and we were interviewing Draymond, and Steph came out of the showers and had this Axe spray, and he kind of sprayed it, but didn't spray it on itself, kind of sprayed it in the air, and it made me jump. The sound of it kind of made me jump. And I was like, whoa. And then he tapped me and said, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, it's okay, Steph. And he was like, no, I'm sorry. Do you want some? And I'm like, no, Steph. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, do I smell funny? Like, I didn't know. And, at this point, the entire locker room is kind of like laughing at us a
Even
bit.
Draymond.
Even Draymond, we were all kind of all the other reporters were all kind of just laughing at Steph and I's dialogue towards each other. And after that, we he stopped talking, and I was singing on the praise team at my old church at that moment, and my praise director had said to me, we were going to cancel praise team, and I know how praise team rehearsals, so I know how much of a believer in Christ that Steph is, and I just wanted to kind of hear what he would say once I brought that up. And so I said it out loud. I'm like, hey, my director is trying to cancel praise team. And Steph turned around immediately and was like, oh no, he can't cancel praise team. Can't cancel praise team. And then everybody would just bust out laughing. We all start, you remember, we all just start. And at that moment, I mean, that just having, and after that, of course, me and you and Kelsey and Steph, we talked about the Super Bowl, because that year is the year that the Panthers were going to the Super Bowl, and Steph was going to be
It was that
going
next
to,
week.
yeah, it was the next week, so we all sat and talked about that. And I was just on such a high that entire night. Once I left the arena, even going home, my adrenaline was pumping, and I think at that point I realized, like, one of my biggest goals, Brian, is to, once I'm fully in locker rooms, and I want players to be able to kick it with me and chat and laugh and be cool with this, this media person. I always wanted to, be that person. And I think at that moment, that night, I realized, yo, you got it in you. You absolutely can be that person. Maybe Steph is just super nice. I don't know. But at that moment, I kind of felt like that I broke a glass ceiling. And because so often those players kind of clam up around women in a sense. I don't know why, but they kind of clam up around the women. And even times I've been in a locker rooms where I'm just standing there watching TV and having conversations with Bradley Beal, just like a homegirl kicking it, So at that moment, I knew that this is all right. This is what you want to be to these players. Somebody they feel like they can talk off camera to and conversate and be comfortable with. You can do it. You can do it because you just did it just now. So I think that was one of the moments, probably like my top moment of feeling like that I was making progress in the
Now,
business.
now another player that because you just reminded me of another story, and I want you to share was Josh Norman, Washington Redskins preseason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, talk about that night.
Yeah, I think you're talking about. I'm sorry, you know I covered Josh a couple times, but
This was the first
this was
time
with
he
you,
was.
me, you, and Wally, right?
Yeah, it was the first time he was. This was the first season, right
Yeah,
after he left the Panthers. The preseason before his first season with the Redskins, they had
right.
played the Bills that day.
Yes, yeah. And we interviewed him. And Josh Norman, shout out to Josh Norman. He is super nice. Josh will talk to you, and you know he's really a really nice guy. And you know he talked to us for quite some time. Even once we were done interviewing, I think we had a little conversation with him. But you know, I said to Josh, I'm like, listen, I need you to make sure that you know retweet our stuff. When we tag you in it, I need you to make sure that you retweet it. I need you to make sure that you like it. I need to make sure you know. And I guess just me kind of having the personality that I have, and you know, he literally remembered, and it was like a few hours later, and you can imagine. And I think that ours was the only thing that he had retweeted, and I'm pretty sure that other outlets had mentioned him in their tweet or whatever after the interview. But I thought it was really cool that he kind of like listened to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, she told me to do this, let me make sure I do this. So that was pretty cool. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
It was
Now, just
cool.
now, just talking about the challenges that you had building a brand, because most people who come into this business in their like early in their careers, they're usually with established brands or smaller stations that's been established, but they don't have the goal of becoming bigger, because usually people start off local with local,
Hmm.
whether it's a sports station, or I should say most times it's a news station. Like we've had like Brandon Williams on the podcast, who went to school, and he talked about working with school station. Upcoming, spoiler alert, having Jade Jackson on podcast, and she's going to talk about just moving in different locations that you may not be familiar with. But these are established stations. You are
Yeah.
somebody who's worked with a radio station that was established as a radio station. It was primarily a Christian and sports station. We come along, we decide, hey, we're going to change things up a little bit, create
Right.
social media, and we're going to cover the locals, but we're going to also give you a taste and cover some of the national stories as well, to the point we have become the local go-to for the local go-to place for those bigger stories. Talk about the challenges you had with doing some of that, creating that content, trying to get that content out, because I saw a lot of success that you made, but just talk about the challenges.
Well, I one of the challenges for me was honestly just figuring out where to key in,
Hmm.
um because I mean DC is a great sports town. I think they're like the eighth sports market or whatever. And so it's plenty of news, plenty of local stuff. Um, so there would, for me, I'd say there was a bit of like a challenge in regards to the balance, because we're just going to be honest. You know, DC is a huge sports town, but their teams don't do all that well. This was in the past, y'all. Now we talking, the Capitals got a championship, the Nats got a championship, the Mystics got a championship. So this was, I'm talking about a few years ago. They haven't always been the winningest town, so I guess news can kind of be slow, but you
Hmm.
still wanted to make sure that you were putting that stuff out there still because you're in DC. One of my struggles was definitely trying to find the balance. I I love the big stories and the most talked about stuff because again, I love conversation. And so the bigger the story, the more people are talking about it, the more conversation it is. You know what I mean? So and that was just kind of something that I always wanted to be, again, that conversation starter. So I had to kind of find a balance of still making sure that, we didn't leave our DC peeps hanging. You know what I'm saying? For the national stuff or for the big stories. And to be honest, I mean, sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes, you had to, sometimes you had to remind me, hey, let's make sure, we keying in on, Redskin stuff, or, you know what I'm saying? Because I would just be wanting to talk about whatever is national and big, and again, just wanting conversation and to do numbers. And so that was a challenge for me. Finding a balance.
Do you remember your first, and it's okay if you don't, do you remember your first original tweet that you made that went viral?
Maybe Peyton Manning?
Yeah, it was.
Was it the Peyton Manning?
Yeah, it was Peyton Manning retiring.
Peyton Manning's retirement. Yeah.
So I admit this publicly, because I think I told you this privately. When you tweeted it, you followed, I want to say, I can't remember the reporter's name, but it was a big time reporter. One outlet had covered it. It was just that reporter had said Peyton Manning expected to announce his retirement. So you found the story. For whatever reason, everybody else was hesitant. And you said it, and I was sitting there. I was like, "Uh-oh, did we just put something out that may not be true? I'm not seeing nobody else cover it." And then I asked you, and you was like, "Yeah, Brian, I did everything you told me to do, yada yada yada." Yeah. And then I checked the wording. Sure enough, you said expect it, and I can remember like, wow, she really listened. And I was like, just in case this comes back to haunt us, or Peyton Manning decide. And I was just like, kind of low key praying like, please just don't decide to come back next year, because this is going to work.
Because at that point when I had put it out there, it was getting so much traction. I think you were just like, whoa, I really hope we don't have to like double back on this, like backpedal, but I think it was really important. And again, that is something that now that I'm kind of talking this through with you, Brian, I think, I'm a huge TV person. I love watching TVs and shows and movies. And I think that that's where a lot of this it seems natural stuff comes from me, because I just knew that I could not put something out there like that without the wording being correct. It is all about the wording. To this day, I am going to tweet, and you'll have your trolls say something to me about something, and I'll have to kind of clap back and be like, that's not what this said. You didn't read it. Pay attention to the wording. But that was just, I think you were super nervous. You were super nervous that night, but I was like, I said, let's make sure that this wording is correct. And I think that's, just for anybody in the future that wants to make sure that you're doing social media and you're breaking news or stuff like that. Wording is so important, and it's much more important than timing. And that's what I've learned as well. It's all good to try to get the information out there first, but you want to make sure that your wording is on point, because people will dissect so quick. And that's what I didn't want to happen on that tweet. But I think it was the Peyton Manning one that kind of did numbers for us initially. Yeah, I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
I was going to put it out there, and just was relying on the wording to save us if it needed to save us.
Look, you're talking to somebody who was tweeting for SportsCenter,
right?
And during the Summer League game, I said something about a player. I forgot which player it was, but I said, "Oh wow, it does great, showing that this rookie can dunk." And I had the 76ers themselves reply, "Well, if he's a rookie, then what's this?" And I was sitting there like, "Well, what are they talking about?" And then I went to somebody. They said, "Dude, because he's no rookie." I said, "Oops." So then I had to reply like, "My bad." Now, mind you, 15 million followers. Everybody's trolling.
Exactly.
Oh, SportsCenter needs to fire the intern. This, that, and other. But yeah, that I mean,
I don't think you've told me this story.
I didn't.
You told me this one. No, I don't think you told me this one, Brian.
Yeah. So when that happened, I'm putting myself out there. Shout out to my manager, Steve Brayban, who wasn't working that night, but I told him what happened, and he was just like, "Oh, so you had fun with it though, right?" I said, "Yeah, I just put out like, oops, my bad, such and such." And that's when Steve was So Steve, I think, was like 3 or 4 years older than me.
Mhm.
He's like one of the big time producers at Design Network now, the boxing network, and he told me like sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Just have fun with it. You know, as long as it's nothing drastic. The goal was not to end up on Deadspin. But he said one time he accidentally tweeted something from the SportsCenter account that was just, you know, it was something personal like go Steelers. He's a Pittsburgh guy. But the fact of the matter is, when you make mistakes like that, you have fun with it, you know? And so I was, you know, but a lot of times when you do make mistakes, that stuff sticks with you. So I was just like, oh, I hope we ain't do that tonight.
Right, right. Yeah, I didn't know about that story. You ain't told me that one. That's
um,
crazy.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
Well, let's fast forward. You know, obviously the time at Fox Sports was wonderful. Um, you know, you dipped into the podcast game. Matter of fact, talk about that for a little bit. You and Josh, the Cowboy Zone.
Oh, Cowboy Zone. Yeah. Cowboy Zone was Cowboy Zone was super fun. Cowboy Zone was kind of decided on maybe mid-season, a little after mid-season. The 2016 season, Zeke and Dak's first year, and they were just doing so amazing. And just, I mean, the world was convinced that this was Dallas's year, that first year, and it was just, yeah, no, it was just so much talk. There was no way that we could not be a part of the conversation. Again, I like to talk, and so Josh and I, and along with Glenn. And I think I'm pretty sure you had some input on that too, Brian. Decided to come out with Cowboys on, and it was an hour where we did a podcast and talked about the events in Dallas and what we liked and what we saw. And me and Josh just had a blast with it. It was a really good time, until we lost. Well, sorry y'all. Spoiler alert, I'm a Dallas fan. But until till stuff started going downhill. But that was a great time. I love talking Cowboy stuff. It was a great time.
Yeah, and, you know, that was your first dip into the podcast game. We'll get more
Yeah.
into you will get back later. But you know, after your time with Fox Sports came to an end. Well, first and foremost, before we go transition, what was a time where you had to come out your comfort zone while working at Fox Sports?
Um, you listen, Brian is gonna have a lot of input on this part, guys. I'm just letting y'all know now. He already know where I'm about to go with it. But honestly, so I'm a talker. I love to talk. And um it's weird because I enjoy to write as well, but I just I love this sports thing so much, not just with my talking, but writing. And I just want everything to be perfect. I want everything to be perfect before I decide to like introduce it to the world or something like that. I guess that's what my mind state is. And Brian has always pressed me out, guys, to like write. And I understand how important writing is. I completely understand it, but I'm just a talker. I feel like I talk better. And Brian tells me all the time, guys, he's like, your writing is so much stronger than what you even know. Like, you're a great writer. And I think that is one of, I didn't come to Fox to be on air. I didn't come on Fox to be a writer. I didn't, just come to Fox to decide to do podcasts. Initially, it really was all about social media when I first got pulled on. So I'd have to say those three areas right there, being on camera, writing, and podcasting, were all times where I was taken out of my comfort zone, because social media is literally like that is I love it. But these other areas, took me out of my comfort zone. So, but writing for sure. Writing for sure. It was just, man, Brian loved to take me out of my comfort zone with writing, y'all, and he he knows that it's just gonna make me stronger. Of course, when you're not comfortable, you just become this much stronger individual. But yeah, definitely writing.
I mean, well, look at you now. But now let's move on. You after that, you move on and you go to Nuts and Bolts. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, so shout out to Joe with Nuts and Bolts Sports. I'm actually we're revamping some stuff and putting some stuff in place. I am currently helping out on that end as social media manager as well there. And that is pretty cool. Joe is super dedicated and a hard worker, and I actually covered the Georgetown game a couple of weeks ago for Nuts and Bolts Sports, and there were several people that came up to me, "Hey, are you under Nuts and Bolts Sports?" And Joe is such a hard worker. He's so A, B, and C, and um, it's some great things coming from that company, from those guys at Nuts and from us at Nuts and Bolts Sports. I definitely want to help him out in regards to that. So you guys got a lot of stuff coming from him in 2020. He is motivated and determined, and he has a lot of things and opportunities lined up. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow, did you ever think like you would be this fast in your career, kind of help taking a company to the next level?
No, I had no clue, and it's so funny. Joe knows, like, we have had this conversation, him and I, before, where I was just kind of just, and of course thanks to you, just dropping all of this knowledge on social media and building your brand on social media and ABC. And I actually was kind of shocking myself when I was dropping all this knowledge to them, and I'm like, wow, I've learned so much in such a short amount of time. And he just like was like, I absolutely have to have you on. I have to have you on the team. A, B, and C, you have this. And I'm just like, I just really, really appreciate you, of course, for, just putting those things in me. And I felt like, wow, like kind of like not a turning point in a sense, but just like, wow, that's crazy that I'm able to. I really just shocked myself with everything that I was telling him and how we should do this and how we should do that, and the individuals that he decided to go and talk to about what I was saying. Other people, they were just like, "Yo, yes, this is it. This is what it needs to be." And other individuals that have degrees in these areas and stuff like that were like, "Yo, she's right. This is actually what you need to do to grow your business and grow your brand on social media." So I didn't think at this point, excuse me, that I would be that influential in helping a brand like grow. Really, I didn't think, not yet.
I mean, I'm
Not
not
yet.
surprised because, one thing I always said was you listen. You might fuss a little bit. You might say, but no, I want to do it my way. But in the end, you always listen. Just like the whole time you fussing back, you taking notes. And then I was like, you did exactly what I said you should do. Or you put your own spin on it. And
Yeah,
then you make it yours, which I always say, like, look, I'm not going to know all the answers, but take the advice I give you and then
yeah.
put your own flavor on it.
This is like big bro, y'all. So brothers and sisters, we go back and forth, and he got to tell me stuff a million times, and it is what it is. But I'm definitely, again, like I said earlier, this is something that I absolutely love, and sometimes that holding period is just me, like you said, looking a way to make it my own or put a spin on it or making sure that I completely understand before I put something into till I give something before I give something a green light. In a sense, I gotta make sure it makes sense to me.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, like, I just want to perfect my craft, and I have no problem not being the smartest person in the room ever. I want to be around people that know more about this business than I do. Because I want to learn. You know that about me. I love to learn and to do new stuff. Take me a minute to kind of get out of the comfort zone, but you know me. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, we talk about getting out of your comfort zone. We talk about being around people, that's like-minded. Tell the
Yeah.
world about your very first National Association of Black Journalists convention
Oh, so that was this year in
last
Miami.
year.
Well, oh yeah, it is 2020, right? That was last year in 2019, in Miami, and this is something that Brian has been trying to get me to go to since 2016. And I don't know. I guess the timing just wasn't right. Back then, I'm starting to look at life like everything happens for a reason. So apparently, I just wasn't supposed to attend those other years. But last year was an absolute ball. It felt so good to be around people that I guess kind of like talk my same language. I mean, I have a full-time job, and I'm, 90% of my office is are women. And I can't rap and talk about the sports life or the journalist business with my everyday people. We just can't do it for the most part. And so it felt really good to spend that week down with, like you said, like-minded people, and just get insight and attend panels. And once I left there, man, and I just left with a sense of like, I'm going to definitely make this happen, and new and fresh ideas for, my own stuff and my brand that I'm trying to build. And it was really cool. It was really cool. I know you was happy when I finally like, I don't think you believed it until I like got on the plane. I don't think Brian believed it until like, yo, I'm getting on the plane now. My flight lands at 12:30. Like that's when I think you was like, oh, yo, she's really, really coming, because it had just been so many, again, life. It just been so many hiccups and kind of barriers um, stopping me from getting down there in the previous years. So yeah, it was definitely, I'm making that a part of a travel plan like every year.
I
And in
mean, like
PJ, I have to be there.
we go back to the one in DC where
Yeah.
you it was like we was right there. It was
Uh,
me, Dwayne, Hugh, Brandon, CJ. We were,
Mikhail.
yeah, we were all down there. It was like, hey,
Yeah.
you come in, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, something came up.
I think it
So
was probably something with, I don't know if it was, I was having like car issues or something. And I don't know if, I think, I don't, I thought
it
I was
was,
supposed to Uber or something down
yeah,
there, and just hiccups, just hiccups. Stuff
yeah, but
just, was just happening.
and then we get to this year, and I think I was standing next to, I want to say I might have been around Kelsey and Renee. Um, shout out to two other members of the Fab Five, and I'm not sure who got there first, you or Brandon. I feel like you got there first. And it was like, hey y'all, I'm here. Because I remember Brandon showing up in the middle of the day with his hooper shorts on still.
Yeah,
Like he
no, I
came.
think you were there first, and then think Renee, but I think
Well, I
Kelsey
was
got
there
there before
Tuesday.
me. Yeah, Kelsey
I
got there
was.
before me though, because she had a
Okay.
panel.
Yeah, yeah. So, but one of the things I'm gonna share this highlight from that day, that weekend. I think for me, one of the biggest highlights that made me sit back and I was proud. And this moment is still in my phone, in my gallery
Oh
under the
gosh.
favorites. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, dude.
Uh, was our good friend Mark Gunnels. Shout out to Mark Gunnels
Shout
of
out to Mark.
the Mark My Words podcast. Make sure you check that out with him and Aisha. Just talking sports every week. Um, Mark has said something. I forgot who
Oh,
y'all
I
was
can tell
talking.
you. We
Okay,
were
hold
talking
on.
about Tom. I can tell you. We were talking about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady.
That's why wouldn't it have been that? Because I
Yeah.
don't think Mark is the biggest Mahomes boy. And let's see, what day is this? This is we're recording on January 1st. This will air on January 12th. So I mean January 13th. So I hope that by the time this airs, we'll be getting ready for the Ravens
Oh
Chiefs.
God. AFC matchup, huh?
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't care. It could be the Ravens and Patriots, or the Ravens and Bills, or Ravens and Texans. But nobody rides harder for Tom Brady than our good. I mean, for Mark Gunnels than our good friend. I mean, nobody rides harder for Patrick Mahomes than our good friend Mark.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, and we're waiting for this sports debate panel. It's got Joy Taylor, Rob Parker, Chris
Broussard.
Broussard,
Yeah.
and they had where you could, and this is why you should go to NABJ, folks. They allowed you, they gave you, it was a workshop where you could debate with these people, these same people you see on TV. You could debate with them. You picked it. They give you a list of topics. You pick them, and well, I wanted Ashley to participate so bad, but for whatever reason she wouldn't. But we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, while we're waiting for this to start, I turn around and I just see Ashley, not loud, but just spilling on facts. So of course, I have to capture the moments. So I pull out my phone and I just record it, and I post it on Twitter. And shout out to our good friend She Knows Sports, Tarika Foster. And
yeah, I remember. I think Tarika was just like, I don't even know her, but her passion, and I'm gonna like follow her, but I don't even know what she's talking about. But I believe her.
I mean, make sure I say this: Tarika Foster Brasby. I almost messed up. Didn't say her full name. My apologies. But she's
hey girl.
when she tweeted, when she replied to that tweet, it was just so great because I deal with this on a regular basis. I don't even like debate in sports, but yeah, I should be talking. They say, I know we almost dag on there arguing in the morning or in the evening because she just thinks Tom Brady's the greatest thing ever. And, I'm tired of Tom Brady. But to me, that was another glass ceiling because, for somebody to go down to Florida for their first NABJ and take that opportunity to show people, hey, I'm here. I'm not just coming to observe. I'm coming to observe, but I'm gonna make an impression. People are gonna know who I am, and that's what you did.
And I feel like half the room, like half of the back of the room, was paying attention to
everybody
us.
was paying attention. You were in the moment. I looked. Everybody was paying attention. It was what she said. It's like, oh, she got him. Yo, what you gonna say? And Mark. Love you, bro, but you couldn't say nothing.
But here's the thing. Here's the deal. With this is and look, Mark got a cut. He got some ammo for me now, though. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really hear that in the beginning of the season, but now he would have a little more of a stronger case.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
At the time of this taping, he does not, because look, I made a prediction at the beginning of the season. My prediction, I'm going to be real. I never picked the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. I was so irritated last year when they did that I said, you know what? It is what it is. They're going to win it. I'm picking the Patriots. I had the Patriots beating the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. One of those picks not happening. Let's rev this up and make it both. Now, obviously, that's not my postseason prediction now, but until Tom Brady is gone, you still got the ammo, sis.
Listen, yeah. Yeah. It was a good time.
But yeah, and that's like I said, that's one of the reasons why I go hard for NABJ each and every year. I tell everybody, I'm in the media relations business, you know that, and I've been able to, for me, use it as a great platform to share what I do. Now, this is the, I guess we could say the main event of this episode. You talked about being able to create your own. Well, coming up, we are getting ready. What I've been waiting for a long time, seems like. Power does this thing where they give us a little bit. By now, some episodes on air by the time this airs. But, they give us a little bit Power, How to Get Away with Murder. Then they, boom, mid-season finale. And then we wait. Or season finale. We're getting ready finally for season 2 of your podcast about nothing but sports.
Yep.
Tell us the thought process in putting this together and what made you finally say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to step out on faith, because that's what we know it was. I'm going to step out on faith and create my own.
Conversation. I'm just gonna revert back to this entire interview, Brian, because I love to talk sports, and it is literally I think I've realized that it is in a sense therapeutic to me, and I don't mind having this therapy session every week. that is one of the main reasons why I'm like, I need the people to hear me. I need people. It's one thing to see me behind behind a social media platform. It is something completely different to hear me talk it. Um, what I give on social media ain't got nothing on what you hear out of my mouth. Like it's completely different. In a sense, it's a completely different person in a sense. But I knew that I needed to get people to. I wanted people to like hear me on a weekly basis and hear my insight and my opinion. And um, thanks to you, you taught me that, hey, yo, you can do this. This is modern technology here. You can like do a podcast, and you taught me the things that I needed to do to make the podcast. I'm going to make this word up, listenable. Make people listen to it. And I think season one was awesome. Season one was really good. Shout out to Andre Sutton. He was my co-host for season one. And I learned a lot from that season and the things that I want to take forward into season two and beyond. Going forward, it will just be me. So it'll be a solo dolo act. But I just wanted people to start hearing me and hearing my voice and knowing that honestly, another half of it is as I can roll toe for toe. Like I can talk this sports thing too. Like don't let the fact that I'm a girl or a woman like fool you. Like I does this, and I need you to hear that I does this. Like I don't want you to think that I'm getting my information from anybody else when you see me tweeting or doing something on a social media platform. Like I does this. So I ain't gonna lie, 50% of that is just making sure you know that I can flow toe to toe too. Like talking it. And so I just wanted people to hear me because I really think that I am like one of a kind when it comes to a woman in this business. I am different. And I think it took a long time. It's taken a long time for me to be able to say that, Brian, because it's something I didn't necessarily want to accept. You have been saying it for the last 4 years, and I'm just like, okay. But now, it is what it is. I am different, and I want people to hear that it's okay to be different. And it's okay to be this woman that's passionate about um, something like sports. Ain't nothing wrong with it. And that's when I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this podcast thing.
Wow, well, I can definitely say this, man. I'm just so proud of everything you've done, every obstacle and hurdle you've jumped over, or I should say, leaped over in a single bound. Uh, and obviously, you're still young in this business, which means you have your best days ahead of you. But the ones behind you are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what's next? What can people look forward to? What can people look forward to from this season on About Nothing But Sports, or from you per se, out of nuts and bolts or what have you?
Well, personally, for about nothing but sports, again, just making sure that I'm heard, and I really want. Um, I've always felt like, and this is a little nugget that I'm going to drop because I'm pretty sure we're nearing the interview. I've always felt like that I started this thing a little too late, Brian. And I just want to encourage the ones that have dreams and inspiration, aspirations, and um, it's not too late to follow your dreams. And that was a bit of a hindrance to me early on. I got two kids and I got this going on, and I'm not going to be able to do this. And that is just literally the attack of the enemy. And to anybody listening to this, do it. Go for it. It's the things that you can that will happen if you put your all into it is going to be beyond your wildest dreams. So I just want to be heard again, and I want folks to know, like, women are just so overlooked in this business as far as being able to literally talk it like a man does. You know what I mean? And it's only a few of us that I feel like that I've ran into. I could, I've only run into a few folks that can really, really do that. Shout out to Mikhail, because I feel like Mikhail Ramos, who's the host of Rolling with Ramos, her podcast is great. I've been on her show plenty of times. She's like another, me. We're very, very similar in being able to just show that women can do this too. So I just want to continue to show that. You're going to get a lot more of me because it's just me. Of course, I'm going to have my guest and everything on, but I kind of, I want to, I don't want to hold back. I feel like first season, I kind of held back a bit. I don't want to hold back. It's literally no holds barred this time, so you're going to get, y'all are in for a ride. That's all I'm saying. You in for a ride. Season 2 and going forward, we in for a ride. As far as Nuts and Bolt Sports, again, we're up and coming. You're gonna see a whole lot of dope social media content coming from them. And I plan on being behind a lot of that. So definitely make sure you guys follow that platform as well on social media. Nuts and Bolt Sports is what it is. On all social media platforms, I believe. So yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be dope.
She's excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Before we go, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter as Ashley Baker _21. I think that's my Twitter name. Yeah. You can also follow at Sports AMBP as in platform, as in Paul, Peter, and that is where you're gonna get. I'm gonna on season 2. I want to get questions from you guys that listen in, and want to address those questions on shows the following week. So make sure that you follow that platform as well, where you can go ahead and DM me or tweet me any questions, comments, whatever. I definitely want to be more interactive this season with my followers and my listeners of the show. So that is that's where you can find me. Ashley Baker _21 on Twitter, Ashley N1221 on Instagram, and Ashley Baker on Facebook.
All right.
That's a lot.
It's definitely a lot, but we'll be making sure that the links will be dropped in the description just in case people didn't get it.
That's going to be awesome, Brian. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I got everything right. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's all good. Well, Ash, thank you for joining me this week. Like I said, I'm definitely proud of you, and I'm excited to see what 2020 has for you. And I'm pretty sure you'll be at NABJ's home, so you gotta play good host to your fellow brothers.
It's in my city. I will definitely be there. And just before we end, I definitely want to just thank you for everything you've done for me, all the advice, professionally and personally, that you've given, and just always being there. You are just one person that I can always count on in this business, and I'm so grateful for you. Without you pushing the way you push, I probably wouldn't have stepped out on faith as much as I did, honestly. So I appreciate you for that. I definitely wanted to let you know.
No problem. You can't get rid of me now.
That's all, folks. Thanks for joining this episode of Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. I definitely hope you enjoyed. It was a very long conversation when Ashley and I get together. That's what we do. We talk. But she had so much to discuss, and I felt it was important for her to share her story, because who knows? Maybe you're out there listening. Maybe you're a single mom and you want to get into broadcast journalism or get into social media, but you don't know how. Or you don't know how to balance. I know me as a parent, I've learned from her. Ashley's been a parent longer than me, so it's been some things she's been able to teach me. So I was very excited for her to share a story. Next week, we have my good friend JL Rucker coming up. JL will discuss how she's been able to create her own lane in this field in this business, but how she started in high school creating her own lane. So, ladies and gentlemen, until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on all platforms. Make sure you do not let anyone set up a ceiling for your life. This podcast is brought to you by B. Waters Productions. It is produced and edited by myself, Brian H. Waters, with the music brought to you by Hypnosis. You can find Hypnosis on Instagram at hypno_beats.